Hello, dear friends. I'm back, and today's subject that I chose to talk about is what's change. It's very important to understand that change is everywhere. Change happens. We make changes. We need change sometimes. Sometimes we need to change things around us. Sometimes we get changed. And so, to discuss that topic, I think it requires a very open mind and understanding of what changes and why change becomes important at some point in our lives, and taking different aspects of our lives and where change is due and what change does to us. So, with that said, so sometimes we have to change people in our lives, meaning that there is a misunderstanding, because we have to live with that concept of there are no bad people. There is misunderstanding and there is lack of communication. So we have to change that. Instead of becoming enemies, you just change the situation and you kind of get yourself out of the picture. And so that's the necessary change to make in order for you to have a better tomorrow, and that other person to have a better tomorrow, because you're just not in each other's lives anymore. So it makes things easier. When it comes to changing, certain habits or certain kind of things. For example, I gave up smoking cigarettes about more than 5 years ago. I used to smoke cigars as well. I smoke occasionally cigars, but that was a great change. That was a change that I really needed. Others would say, it's such a hard thing to do. It's so difficult to quit. It's so difficult to give up. But then why do you change things? Is because you need to change things, because you have a valid reason to change things, and you have to have a logical answer to yourself, first of all, as to why you're making certain changes. Logic has to be behind it, and you have to say to yourself that I need to make this change because of such and such. And something has to be in it for you, right? So when you change a habit of, smoking a cigarette, for example, what's in it for you? Well, it's your health. What more can it be, right? If you're changing a habit of getting into situations where you kind of feel like you are underappreciated, underpaid, or overused or abused or whatever, why do you do it? What's in it for you? Well, you want to save your skin. You want to be out of the situation. You want to have better respect for yourself, and that's why you step out of the picture and you make that change. Some people change their place of living, their place of residence. Some people age, and a certain kind of weather makes them feel better, less pain, this, that, better for their joints and everything else, so they decide to move. So change is a great thing to do. And some people, when it comes to having a certain type of a investment or something, you have to make changes. Sometimes people get scared of that word change, right? And when you see a person you haven't seen from high school or something, you say, "Oh man, you've changed so much." Is that they're ready to kill you, and they're ready to attack you and say, "What do you mean I've changed? What do you mean?" Or if you say you haven't changed, they're like, "What do you mean you haven't changed?" It's such a difficult, sensitive little thing to see, take that same word change and then use it a certain way, whether they have changed or they haven't changed, but it could end up causing a certain amount of headache and a hassle between people if you say you haven't changed from high school. Well, are you telling me that nothing's changed about me? I mean, I'm a parent. I'm a lot wiser now. I make better decisions now. What do you mean you haven't changed? Well, you tell them, "Hey, you've changed so much." "What do you mean I've changed so much?" You used to have a full head of hair, now you're bald or whatever. Your teeth look off or whatever, or you've got so many wrinkles or what. I mean, why do we have to take change in a way that really has to become a scar on us, or certain relationships, with our friends, if they tell us that we've changed? If somebody told me I didn't change, I would be very offended, because I would say I've worked 25, 26 years, 27 years on myself as a human being to first of all educate myself. Second of all, to learn from my own mistakes, or to involve other people's lives in my life, such as good friends, good family members, and whatever. We've had these mutual experiences, our ups and downs, and whatever. It's been a learning curve. You tell me I haven't changed? I've invested so much in myself. I haven't changed? What do you mean I haven't changed? But do I have to take that change and say, well, my hairline started from right over here, there was no wrinkles over here, there's none of these things over here, I was a handsome young man, and I'm a 45-year-old man now, and I have wrinkles and this and that, my hairline is receding and whatever. Am I going to be offended by that? No. Because you know what? That's not where I park my wealth. In here, these wrinkles are all, savings account things, because this is where all the experience lines up. This is where I have so much experience and wisdom hidden over here. So if I was to be told that I have changed, and from the high school years, obviously I have to have changed. I've done so much in my life. I've become a parent of two beautiful people. I've become the husband of a beautiful woman, and I've done so much. I've learned to be a parent. I've learned to be a son who takes care of a sick mother and a elderly father and whatever. Of course, I've changed. So if I have wrinkles or what, is that a negative? Should I take it as a negative? No. I think I should take that as a pride and say, yes, change was a great thing. So I have changed, things have changed, because, this is how I have become strong, and this is how when you look at an old tree, the tree becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and stronger, and sometimes you see like there's not that many green branches left on the tree, but you cannot move the root. You know why? Because the roots are getting stronger. So if there's the older the person gets, they should make their roots stronger, because they should build that family around them, and they should build that foundation. So a dying tree gives all its power to its roots, so you can't take it from its root, but up there's probably nothing green left on the top, but you know what? It's a strong foundation, a strong root. So when it comes to changes, and one would say, oh, you've changed, or you haven't changed, or whatever, we have to analyze this stuff and say, why would I be proud of the changes? Well, it's up to you. You have to analyze what those changes are in your life. Are you proud of them? Have you done anything with your life to have changes occur in your life? If you haven't, if others have changed you, there's the big question. What if others have changed you? What if life threw curveballs at you? What if, your life went sideways halfway in or whatever, and then whose fault is that? Is it always the other person's fault? Are we ever at fault? Are we ever to blame ourselves so we can learn from our own mistakes? Or do we always find the kind of merciful ears that will listen to our problems, and they will, give us a shoulder to cry on, but never make us stronger? Is that what we look for? Or do we look for our mistakes and we try to go and correct those mistakes so we don't fall into the same trap twice or 3 times or 10 times or whatever, because we've learned something from those mistakes, because that was the cost of education. So we made some mistakes, we've lost some things. In my industry, in my business of 22 years, I can say that I've been fairly successful. But have I made mistakes? Yes. Have I lost a lot? Have I lost a pretty penny in that business? Yes, I have. I have lost a lot. I have lost hundreds of clients because, I was not smart enough in the beginning when I was doing my dealings, and somebody took me for a ride. And you know what? Have I corrected that? Hell yes. When I was speaking to my mentor, who's no longer with us, this guy was in his 70s when I first started working for him, when I was 22 years old. I mean, this guy was the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my life, the greatest mentor. When I was talking to him when I had that lawsuit, when I lost my business and whatever, The guy said, I thought I taught you better than that. And I said, you know what, you did. And I still made a mistake. I went with more of emotions and this friendly whatever, this and that, versus documentation and getting everything on black and white. And guess who suffered from that? Me. So would I ever make that same mistake? I would try not to, right? Ever or never is a very strong phrase. I try to avoid those things, but you know what? I will do my best to have to use the knowledge that cost me so much money. You go to a seminar and pay, $3,000 or $4,000 to sit in one seminar, so it'll help you in your business and your growth process. And you know what? You cherish that. You want to make something out of that. Well, you know what? It cost me millions, so I have better have learned something from that and to use that. That's the most costliest education I've ever gotten. So would I want to use that? Of course I would, right? So my suggestion on this phrase, change, guys. Change is a good thing. Cherish it, because everything you do is for change. Everything you try to do is for change. Okay, you want to change the world, you want to change your life, you want to change your friends and family members' lives, you want to do things so your kids feel much better, your wife feels much better, your parents feel much better. Everybody works for that change. You want to change things in your own community. You want to change things in your own ethnic communities, right? You want to do things so it's good for the local Hispanic community, if you're a Hispanic man or a woman, or the local Chinese community or Armenian community and whatever. You want to do things for your communities, your churches, your belief centers and whatever. You know what? Change is a great thing. But sometimes we misinterpret the change and we are afraid of change, and that's why change doesn't happen. And when we are afraid of change, we can't see any kind of accomplishments that are of any kind of significance to show that there's been change made. So be the change that you want to see around you. This is not my word, I'm just using this. I think this is the most powerful phrase I've used in years and years, and be the change that you want to see around you. So start making a change around you, start making a change in the people that surround you, and always with a lot more logic than your emotions. Keep a good balance between emotions and logic, but make sure your logic controls your emotions. Because if your emotions control your logic, then you're going to be logically having some serious issues to deal with down the road because they were out of control. Thank you very much for having spent these few minutes with me. I hope that you've enjoyed my conversation. Write some comments. And like I said, this is a little community that's just something new. It's not the local television, but it's the local community that connects so many more people. Thank you very, very much for your attention. Talk to you soon.